3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Fine.
Okay. Let's just start with the story about how the spaceman has beautiful bullshit. But one thing you did find out for sure is that he did play with Pee Wee Russell in Mexico City, and there's some validity to some of his bullshit.
Yeah.
But he's a
And you want to know about the story about Pee Wee Russell?
right.
Well, Spaceman told me years ago, and he still tells it the same way today, that he played in Mexico City. I think it was 1930. He was playing with the Dixieland Band. And on the tape that I have of Spaceman telling the story, he mentions the hotel he was in and a few things about Mexico City that he must have been there to know about, more or less. But anyways, he said Pee Wee Russell came into town. Of course, anybody that doesn't know Pee Wee Russell doesn't know much about Dixieland jazz in New York City at Condon's back in those years in the 40s. Because Pee Wee Russell was one of the great clarinet players. He played very not much orthodoxy involved in it. He played his own way, like Frank Sinatra says, and like I say, we're going to do it our own way. Well, Pee Wee did it his way, and he became famous. He passed away about 4 or 5 years ago. But Spaceman said he played in Mexico City in 1930, and I took it with a grain of salt because he tells a lot of wild stories sometimes, but they're beautiful stories. So I kind of discounted the fact that Pee Wee Russell played with Spaceman in Mexico City. But then sometime later, a few months, I was reading a book about Pee Wee Russell, and it brought up the fact that in 1930 he was playing in Dixieland Band in Mexico City. So it must have been true. But when Spaceman says that he played with Paul Whiteman and Jack Teagarden and all those guys, Woody Herman, those are all fantasies of his. But there's nothing wrong with that as long as it doesn't hurt anybody.
Right. Who would you say is the most famous musician that you ever played with?
Played with.
Right, just played with. Not regular, but played with.
Oh, well, for starters, I'll mention Lester Young, who Billie Holiday gave him a new name. She called him the President. So he's been known for years as Prez. I played with him all night long one time in Everett, Massachusetts, in a place called the Valley Club. He was playing with Count Basie at that time, when Basie just came east from Kansas City, and they were playing in Boston in a place called the Southland. And so Bill Rollins, a good friend of mine back there, he gave up a doctor, foot doctor, who made a lot of money in that business, but he quit being a doctor and took up the saxophone. And
His wife
he played until his wife was working, had a good day job, and he's just playing a gig on the saxophone whenever he can. But anyway, he was one of my best friends back there. And what was the question again?
I got one for you, Joe.
Wait, let me finish this one.
I think you pretty much covered it.
Oh, who I played with?
Or famous people you played with.
All right, how about Roy Eldridge? Ever hear of Roy Eldridge?
There you go.
I heard the name. What does he play?
Trumpet. He's one of the greatest trumpet players that ever lived, that's for sure. But anyway, we got him when we played at the place called the Wagon Wheels in Linfield, Mass., 10 miles north of Boston. Roy Eldridge was the featured trumpet player with Gene Krupa's orchestra. And we talked him into coming out to the Wagon Wheels to a jam session that night. And that was a very memorable evening because a couple of tunes that he played, Body and Soul was one, and The Man I Love was another one. Those he featured on those two tunes. But sometime when we get a chance, we'll play a few records, and amongst those few records will be some, if you don't know Roy Eldridge very well, it's something everybody should know about that has any interest in jazz at all. Roy Eldridge was sort of the catalyst between Louis Armstrong and Charlie Parker. In the middle there somewhere, he put Roy Eldridge. He started off playing in the early years with Teddy Hill's orchestra. Then he went and played for quite a long time with Callaway's orchestra. But Cab fired him because he found out he was throwing spitballs at him. It was Dizzy. And he was blowing these peas through a straw and hitting Cab right in the back of the head when he's singing a song, you know. So anyway, that's how he got out of Cab Calloway's band. At that time, he was just a little bit of smattering of bebop. It wasn't full blown yet. It was just coming into its own. This has got to be about 1942, maybe 43.
The time you had the encounter with Louis Armstrong, did you play that night?
No, I visited him in a place called the TikTok in Boston, and with my friend Mayo Duca, who knew Armstrong pretty well. They met and got Tommy up in Montreal. Anyway, what was the question again?
I just want to know if you played with him. But you
Oh,
talked about that before.
we backed him up. We let Roy do all the playing because he was such a celebrity.
Okay, so let's use the focus on music to talk about the Spaceman's music to whatever extent it is. Was he ever very good?
Well, my friend Dick Swing says he was a damn good trombone player, and about, let me see, 15 years ago, he had no teeth and all that crap, and he bought a trombone, and he came to my jam session, and I got it on tape somewhere. But due to the fact that I was hearing the notes he was playing in harmony with the lead, whatever we were playing, Dixieland style, he knew what the hell he was doing. I could tell by his tone, and even though he had no teeth, that he was at one time a damn good trombone player. So he played trombone from age 17 to 21, something like that.
You know, I have some. Speaking of Clint, why do you think he tells the stories he tells? What is it about? What do you think it is? And wait till this plane goes over. I'll tell you something. But you know, he's told a lot of stories.
Yeah.
What is it about it that you? What is your reflection on that after this plane?
All right.
You know, not to mention the time frames, how they got mixed up. You know, we heard Dick on tape tell us that he thought it was 1954 that he had this contact, and yet all of
It was
those-
1957.
Yeah. You think Dick has his years mixed up?
Yeah.
Yeah. What makes you so sure it was 1957?
Let me think now.
Well, it's just Clint's story.
What were we talking about?
Just how valid, you know, what he the stories that he tells, how valid they are. I guess I was asking specifically about when, you know, how we know whether it was 1957 or 1954.
Oh, yeah. Let me think. Why is that? Oh, I didn't know Spaceman was 57.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not talking about him right now, though. Who are we talking about? Roy Albert?
No.
Change the subject.
This may turn into a comedy show.
Okay.
No. All right. We'll go back to your question.
Yeah. We were talking about what you thought about Clint's storytelling.
Oh, well, it's kind of hard to do. When I first met him, I knew him about 20 minutes. He was out of my house here when I was living over at number 20. And he had a newspaper article written by United Press International, story about the 19 paintings of the Azora series that were stolen by his, at that time, manager, agent or something like that. And they were back in New York City. These big paintings with a special series called the Azora series. And according to this article, they were worth about $1.5 million. It says, according to Spaceman, it was worth such and such. And they just, you know. But anyways, whether that's true or not, I have no idea. But it's possible, but I don't think there weren't values at that time or any time at that kind of a figure. Although till he dies, he'll tell you they were worth over $1 million. A lot of things that he says he'll never change from. It's part of his life. It's part of the story, and you can't dispute him and you can't prove him wrong. Most of the stuff. But then some of the things like the Pee Wee Russell story turned out to be possibly true. And he told me he ran for state senator of Orange County. I forget what year it was. But anyway, I didn't believe that either until one day he brings out a scrapbook, which is, who knows where it is now. A lot of newspaper clippings about him making speeches at this dinner and that club over there, brought up the fact he was running for state senator or something like that. So that was true. So there may be a lot of things that you just have to take them for what they're worth. But
Where could those scrapbooks possibly be?
those paintings,
The scrapbooks or whatever you're saying that you saw.
oh, about his being running, everything that he had was stolen or lost by him. Anytime I gave him back some pictures, well, that's kind of a long story, but they were all gone. Some stolen, some sold by him for practically nothing. And
Reckless abandon.
yeah,
Over the years, he started telling you stories the day he hit this place, because we have it like the first take, April 19th, 1963. He was talking when Clinton
April
hit,
30th, wasn't it?
April 30th. Yeah.
Got to get that straight.
Since then, his story, how much has his story changed when he tells it to you?
About outer space and all
No,
that.
just his story.
Oh,
Who he
just
is.
his life.
Yeah, his life
So,
story.
I really don't know. It's fundamentally the same. And of course, he hasn't had a drink for years now. When he drinks, the stories get a little wild. But they're beautiful stories. If they're lies, they're beautiful lies. And anyway, he's made himself a dream world, and he puts it on those paintings. And he's not going to change. He's some sort of a genius, I think. But he tells a lot of stories about the film stars that he knew, W.C. Fields and Errol Flynn and all them, and he might have known them. It might turn out like the Pee Wee Russell story. Pee Wee was in Mexico City in the 30s. But anyway, they're all beautiful stories, but it's hard to pin down exactly what's truth and what isn't.
Seems to use elements of both.
Yeah, right.
It's true events and embellishes.
It's whatever you want to believe.
Did he go to Hawaii once?
Yeah, he went to Hawaii once. I know he did. And then, of course, the second time is the time he got rolled for $3,000. You knew about that.
Yeah.
He never did get over there twice, just once.
So the story in the book that he wrote is accurate then? He writes the story about going to Lahaina or something.
La Jolla? I know.
And spending a bunch of money.
In Hawaii?
Yeah.
Those stories are true.
Some
Yeah.
woman went with him and fleeced him. Or,
Something like, well, that was the second trip.
A little bit of both in the story.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but
makes sense.
I'm sure he went to Hawaii one time anyway.
Okay, how we doing? You need something to drink, Bob?
No, thank you. I got another couple of sips here.
Good. Well, that's not good. That's not too bad.
Are we stuck for questions here?
Yeah, you got a question?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know whether you covered this earlier, but let's take a trip back in time. You gave us a bunch of photostat copies of letters and things like that.
Oh, from Vic Ferguson, yeah.
No, yeah, well, from Vic Ferguson, that was included in there. But there's also this one that was from the president of this business school you were attending.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you,
Bentley School of Accounting and Finance. Yeah.
And he sent the letter home to your father. And
Yeah.
Somehow or another, you became quite influenced by jazz during that period.
I love jazz. I was playing several nights a week. And back in those days when I first started playing for money, $2 a night. We played a lot of fraternity, Boston College, Harvard and all that. We played a lot of those fraternity dances and so forth. And What was specifically the question again?
Well, okay, if we want to get specific, actually it was a general question, but what was the significant influence? What was your first remembrance of going like, what was that music?
Well, that was the old Atwater Kent radio. I was in my living room in my house back in Malden, which is 10 miles north of Boston. And that's where I spent 31 years back there.
And about how old were you then? Give or take.
Somewhere between 16 and 19 in that era. But anyways, over the radio they played a song. I remember the name of it, Dinah, by Louis Armstrong. When I heard him play that trumpet and sing like he said, it turned my complete life in that direction. Not that I would ever want to play like Louis, but that I wanted to be a jazz musician. I just turned onto it immediately.
And by then you were already were studying music at that time, or did that?
I never did much studying. I never had a good teacher. I probably haven't taken more than 20 lessons. I'm more or less self-taught.
Were you playing the saxophone by that time, or?
Yeah, I was just sort of just beginning playing the saxophone, practicing it and all that. When I heard Louis, that pointed me in which direction I was going to go. And now, the rest of my life, musical life, I played a lot of times with 3 saxophone and a muted trumpet, playing hotel-type restaurant music, you know. But you had to play that stuff in order to pay the rent. Right. And then that's when, back in those days, those were jam sessions that were really jam sessions. The closest thing to that type of thing is right in my house right now. But anyway.
Why is that? Now, this might be a totally naive question, okay? But what is it about the jam? I mean, that's almost like individual to jazz. Other music is so structured, and the idea is, play the record on the radio, hear the same thing over and over. What is it about a jam that so inspires jazz musicians?
For one thing, back in 40, 50 years ago, you'd never call it a jam. It was always a jam session. And anyway, what was the question?
What do you think inspired people to have a jam session? Why was?
Well, because they had fun. They enjoyed it.
It was new all
And
the
it was
time.
a challenge to play new tunes and all that sort of thing. It's kind of a way, like Sunday nights here.
Right.
And you either loved jazz or you didn't like it. Same way with visual art. Some people, they like nothing but old farmhouses and old barns. And in other words, realism. You could have got the same thing with a camera. How'd that question go again?
Let's go back to where we were before we were talking about jazz. How much of this did you already cover, Rick? A lot of it.
But he's
Okay.
great again, though. I mean, he's new things every time.
Well, all right. You're 16 to 19 years old. You're playing around on the saxophone a little bit, teaching yourself. You hear Louis Armstrong come over the radio and play Dinah.
Yeah.
Bam, your life changes. You're into jazz, and at this time you're attending the business school.
Yeah.
And at that point you go like, maybe I can make a living off of this, and you kind of like
It wasn't so,
neglected your studies a bit.
making a living out of music.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't thinking in those terms. Playing music that I liked, just liked it.
You were just playing because you wanted to play.
Yeah,
And that obviously that took away from your study time, is that correct?
that's right. That's primarily the reason I quit. I just didn't have enough interest. I was interested in playing a saxophone, and I've been playing it all my life.
That's a significant moment one should have in their life, and you're lucky to have it that early in life.
Yeah,
But anyway,
you hear different salespeople giving lessons on positive thinking and all that sort of thing. God damn it, it keeps falling out of my head here.
That's all right.
Cue me into what you said there.
Well, we were just talking about
Positive thinking.
the positive thinking of your.
That's where you left off.
I think I screwed up.
Cut.
Take two.
But anyway,
we might send that last couple of minutes to the Gong Show.
Basically, we were talking about, you know, how you're getting involved with jazz, you get kicked out of your school, you get this letter sent home to your parents. I mean, how did your parents react to that? I mean, was that a...
Well, I called my father, and he had an office in the house there. We sat down, and I just told this to Rick that I was going to have to either quit school, trying to be an accountant, and be a musician, or I'm going to have to quit my saxophone playing and being an accountant. And I told him right then and there that I decided on the, I don't know if it's the latter or the former, but anyway, you know what I mean. I quit school the next day.
And you became an accountant?
No, I didn't.
You didn't become an accountant?
No.
You just went and played jazz?
Yeah, I went into a Chinese restaurant for $18 a week, 5 hours a night, and 2 hours in the noontime. Like I told him, they had comedians and chorus girls and all that jazz. And that was my beginning of sort of making some kind of a living, or not a living, but extra money by playing music. And I just happened to like Louis Armstrong, and then I found out about Fletcher Henderson and all those good old bands back there, Mills Blue Rhythm Band. There's a whole bunch of them.
So when you left school,
Hang on.
you
Anyway, $2.50, we went upstairs and had a nice time.
Wow.
You don't have to put that on, whatever.
just thinking about how much fun it must have
Then we got on a train, went about 50 miles towards the North Sea to Le Havre, and get back on a boat and came across. It took 10 days each way.
been. Certainly an enchanting place, Paris.
Oh yeah, like I say, we didn't see the Eiffel Tower, but we saw a lot of other things.
What else did you do? What else did you and the guys do on those trips?
On those trips?
Yeah, what's more stories from that time?
Oh Jesus, I don't know.
Going to New York City a lot.
Oh, we were in New York City 2 days. Every 11 days, 2 days was spent in New York, not overnight. On the going down, we spent it from 5 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And coming back was sort of the same thing. But we always get on the elevator and went up to 125th Street to the Apollo Theater. For 25 cents, you could see Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington on the stage, about a 2-hour stage show, 25 cents. That's where I first saw Ella Fitzgerald. She was 17 years old, singing with Chick Webb. You don't know anything about Chick Webb?
Never heard of Chick Webb.
Well, he was back before Benny Goodman. Chick Webb was known as the world's greatest drummer, but he was a little short guy. He had a humpback, kind of chicken-breasted. In other words, when he stood up as compared to when he sat down, he was about an inch taller. But he was a great drummer and had a hell of a band, and so he wanted to take Ella Fitzgerald on the road with him to sing with the band, but he couldn't because she was underage. So Chick Webb and his wife legally adopted her, and then she could go along as his daughter. That's how she got started in the business. And then after a little while, along came Lady Day, Billie Holiday. And not too long after that came Sarah. Yeah. She was singing with Artie Shaw's band in Boston. I forget the name of the place, the hotel. But of course the band was all white, and she.
Okay, let's just go with the story about the Eternal Quest. Isn't that the one you found in the alley?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got the balance, you got everything rolling here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're taking pictures also, right?
Go ahead.
About that picture?
Yeah, about the Eternal Quest. How did you come to
the Eternal Quest?
to own it? What does it mean to you?
Well, let me see. What I'm trying to think of. When was that painted? Any idea? 74.
Must be early 70s.
Anyways, he was living down at the end of Cape May Avenue, down right by the beach when he painted that painting. And I don't know if it was a few weeks or a couple of months later, I found out that it was rolled up in a shopping cart from one of the supermarkets around here, sitting in the alley down by about 8 blocks north of here. Anyway, I went down there and I left it there and came back the next day. It was still there. I says, if he leaves this here much longer, somebody's going to steal it. And he owed me $75 for phone calls, so I said I might as well steal it till I get my $75 back.
Right, absolutely.
So I brought it home, and there it is right there, and I told him about it. And about the $75 phone bill, he says, well, call the phone bill even and you can keep the painting. So that's how I acquired that one.
What, was there others in the cart at the same time, or just
No,
this one?
just that one.
Just that one wrapped up in the
Right,
cart.
yeah.
What do you think? Is it a mandala of sorts?
I don't know. He didn't explain much of it. It looks something like a mandala. Yeah, I'd call it a mandala. Whatever that means.
Something about a picture of the soul or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, he said that the middle part is the gestation of the soul, and the rings and so forth that go out from there are different incarnations people go through. And the colors had something to do with something or other which I didn't quite understand. All I know is I look at the painting and it's beautiful.
Yeah, still.
Took a lot of hours to paint that for sure.
Absolutely. Would he paint more than one at one time?
He might paint 2 or 3 at the same time, but most of the time he just did one at a time.
One at a time. Just work 15 hours a day, morning, noon, or night.
That's right. Holidays, Sundays, when he's sober.
When he's sober.
He would do that type of painting. When he started to drink, that's when he went on his little trip. But the trip sometime lasted a couple of years. He covered a lot of ground.
Would he not paint at all during that time then, or
He wouldn't paint at all during that time, no.
more than a year?
Just, yeah, I think so.
Huh. Amazing. What about the one that's just straight below it, the real colorful? Is that a bird or a plant?
Which one are you talking about?
One that's right below the Eternal Quest.
That there?
Yeah.
That's called variation on the dragon plant, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It might be the variation on the Mahalala plant. I don't know.
Yeah, do anything you want. That's fine. Go ahead.
What was the first painting that you came upon?
Say that again.
What was the first painting that you came upon here?
From
that he
Spaceman.
Yeah. Do you still have that one? The first one? Do you remember?
I think the City of Glass. I got a couple of those Cities of Glass. They were done in the early '60s.
Right, that one. And there's also the one behind you as well.
Which one is that?
There's another City of Glass behind you.
Oh, yeah.
63.
He did quite a lot of painting in '63. That's the year that he got down here.
Yeah, that's the one he did in 63. The one behind you. This one here he painted in 68. He signed in 68.
I'll be down, yeah.
Notice that one of the paintings has Viejas on it. What is that?
That's where he spent 6 months as an honor camp, like a jail.
Like a minimum security?
Yeah, right, out in the backcountry. While he was out there, he painted 22 paintings. And he wasn't supposed to take anything with him, but somehow or other we smuggled him out of there. I got a couple, and Craig got a couple. I guess he sold the rest of them.
So you smuggled them all out of there?
Yeah. He painted them all up while he was doing time out there. He painted some real good stuff out when he was there. He also spent about a year and a few months in Patton Mental Hospital. And he painted a lot of paintings up there, and he gave those away for cigarettes and stuff like that. He said he never wanted to go back to a place like that.
Where was that?
I don't know, it takes about 5 or 6 hours to drive there from here.
Really?
Up by Riverside County, I think, up in that area. But Swink and I went up to see him a couple of times. And he didn't like it in the, you know why? Because everybody was crazy. Including him.
Right. That was about the time he had a goatee and he dyed it blue.
Something like around that time, yeah.
That was on one of your tapes there.
He really liked funny hats and all that stuff.
Was that when he was sober as well, or just when he was drinking?
Just when he was drinking. He had a toupee that he felt real good about it. He wore it all the time. But after a while, he lost it up some alley, and he hasn't had a rug on his head since. An extra layer of tan right now.
Yeah, he could use a hat.
Right.